What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you all are doing well on this bank holiday weekend. It's been nice and sunny where I am. I hope the same is for you. Hope you guys are enjoying yourselves. Now, this video was inspired by a live stream that I was a part of yesterday talking about colorism, and the conversation went exactly how I expected, which is why, amongst other reasons, I wasn't as active in the live stream because, number one, there really isn't any definitive stats, and that's what I always love to really bring up when it comes to this kind of topic, because outside of, interrelational dating, there's not really anything that I could really reference that would either prove or deny the extent that colorism exists in terms of, statistical analysis. Therefore, everything else is purely based on anecdotal evidence in regards to TV shows, movies, or your own life experience, which I can't really refute. I can only give my perspective and obviously try and give an understanding based on what maybe men go through and likewise what women go through in the result of an interaction. So I really could only listen to both sides and offer sort of, where necessary, some pushback, but really and truly, there's nothing really I could say. And then number two, and most importantly, this is where it really is a futile discussion, is both genders are completely set in their positions about this topic. So the argument becomes very, very circular, as you've imagined. This top conversation has been taught to death. It will be continued to talk to death because it is a hot button topic. I get it, and it's very emotive. But let's just be honest. Both genders are completely set in their position. Both genders believe that the other gender is more responsible for colorism. And that's one of the things which I really dislike about our community as a whole, because what happens in these conversations, it becomes a pin the donkey exercise. And when we talk about accountability and responsibility, everyone always talks about it. But when it gets discussed, let's just be real. We only discuss that when it comes to the other gender should be accountable. The other gender should be more responsible. Because if you listen to black men, they will almost act as if they're damn near perfect. And it's the women who need accountability, the women who need responsibility. And conversely, if you listen to black women, they're damn near perfect. It's the men who need accountability, the men who need responsibility. It's always the other group's fault. Which is why when these conversations comes up and there's only so much you can really say, because at the end of the day, everyone is set in their position. However, in amongst that, there was a topic that was brought up, which I wanted to discuss today. And that's the topic of this video, which is about the whole struggle of situation, because the whole subject really, when it comes to colorism, was centered around male and female selection criteria. And there was a point that came up about black women won't select the average guy. And a lot of times it's either two things for some odd reason. They either select the 10 out of 10 guy have to be Superman, but really and truly they won't select the average guy, the guy who's doing his thing, the guy who's working, all that kind of other stuff, or they'll prefer again the struggle love. And I was like, hold on a second, because the first thing I was thinking, I thought to myself, especially if you've been an avid follower of my channel, is that most black men, matter of fact, scratch that. Most black people, I'll be honest with you, don't even qualify for that term average. And most of them are struggling. So I thought to myself, struggle love. That's majority of black people and how they are. That's just how it is. Because in my prior videos, and you can watch again for you to see at your own leisure, and you would all know if you watch my videos and all seen a lot of the facts that I present. And these are the facts I'm about to pull up now. Now, here's the first step. Again, we're going to set the foundations. Education. Because this is where everything in life starts, and this is where a lot of your life, let's be honest, will take shape. Not all, but most. But let's take an education. Now, this first step, it shows the average of each group and how they perform. They split up into points based on their A-level results. And what they do is if you get an A, is weighted more, a B weighted slightly less, C, and so on and so on. And they amalgamate it and they get an average. Now, look at where we rank as a people. We are below every ethnic group. Even the average, we're below because we're below every group, except the gypsies and travelers, which for obvious reasons, because of how they integrate into society, which they don't, I'm going to completely disregard those groups. We are behind every group. So we aren't even average. We're below average. It's the same when it comes to achieving, let's not even say average, but the best A-levels. We are miles behind. Again, this stat proves it. I've done it in another video, but I'm going to show you this stat again. When it comes to the main ethnic groups, matter of fact, all ethnic groups, bar like the gypsies and travelers, when it comes to the best of the best for A-levels, I don't care, black African, black Caribbean, we do not outperform each other groups. We're not average. We are not average at all. It's the same with university degree results. Again, look at the stats. We aren't even performing at an even average level. Most of our highest grades are on the below average scale. So what does that tell you? We have to be honest and say that the average file black male, are we even average according to societal standards? Now, that's a very, very tough pill to swallow. Trust me, I know, because I'm sitting there saying this as a black male, but I have to be fair and balanced. As a group, we do not have the levels of home ownership of other races. We don't have the level of net financial and net property wealth as other races. All of these things put together are critical components in assessing not only the strength of the whole community, but it feeds into the argument, which I can't dispute, that black men aren't building, at least at the rate of other races. They aren't doing anything productive, at least at the rate of other races, and they're less than average. And because of all these things put together, all these stats you can see on your screen flowing through right now on this video, this is where we fall into this whole struggle of category. So I want to hear the comments about men saying, oh, women want this struggle of all this kind of other stuff, and you guys are, I'm like, come on now. That is some bullshit. Proper bullshit. If anything, let's be honest, if black women choose black men, then they're choosing struggle for whatever reason, I don't even know. But the question is, what pool of black men do black women really have to choose from? Really? Because now I'm going to show you a statistic which breaks down, and you can see it on the screen, a side-by-side comparison between the genders. Because usually I do it by groups, irrespective of genders. But this time it's different. I'm going to show you something where it's going to break it down by the genders, so we can see exactly where we match up based on the socio-economic groups, because this is how it's weighted. Now, if you've noticed, I have purposefully not noted which of the two graphics, what you can see sat horizontally side by side, which of them are the men and which is the women, because I want you just to guess. So right now I just want you to guess, which one do you think, if it's a top or bottom, which is the men or the women? Because when I looked at these results, and you can see it yourself, it's so telling because they're so goddamn close. And that shouldn't be the case. I'm going to get into it right now. But if you'd guessed that the bottom stat is the man, you'd actually be wrong. So I will be fair and balanced here. The top stat is the man. And because of that, here's what I'm going to do. So here's how it breaks it down. So it's split into these groups called socio-economic groups. Now, the left group, the first group, which is the highest group, is the higher managerial administrative professional. And it goes all the way down, as you can imagine, down to never worked or long-term unemployed. So you can pretty much guess the first group is the most important, or the highest, most successful. The end one is the one at the least group. Now, broken down by ethnicity and even a sub-ethnicity. So we've got Black African, Black Caribbean. Now, what do you see? Here's what I see, and here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing this. We as men are not outperforming women at the rates which I thought we would be doing. We are just about outperforming, and really at a stretch. Now, Black Africans, they are 10% in regards to as the men in higher managerial and administrative professional. Black women, the Africans, they're 6%. So there's a 4% swing in favor of the man. Now, Black Caribbeans, there's only a 2% change between the black man and the black women. But if you look at the next category, which is the second down, look at that. You look at black women in terms of African and Caribbean are outperforming black men. And that's the next one down. So you put them two together, what do you get? You get a situation where more black women are outperforming black men at the higher levels. Now, here's another stat which I want to get into, which if you go right to the far right, they're never worked or long-term unemployed. Now, what do you see? What steps out in front of your mind when you see these stats? You see this. When it comes to the men, Black Africans are 33%, the women, 36%. But the Caribbeans, my Caribbean brothers and sisters, black men, you guys are outperforming your sisters at this category, which should never happen. Men should never be ahead of women when it comes to this statistic. Even by a 1%, 2%, I don't give a shit. But look at this. It's too goddamn close. We are too goddamn equally yoked on the wrong reasons. This is why I say the struggle of is just permeating throughout black society. These are just the facts. How is it possible that you have a group of men who have never worked or long-term unemployed more than their women? That cannot build a productive society. Now, where's the comparison? Because at the end of the day, what if other groups are doing the exact same thing? I'm glad you asked. Well, look at the next stat on the screen. Again, it's split in the same way. Now, this is white men and white women. White British men, white British women. Because again, we like to compare ourselves to white people so much. So let me bring it up here again. Again, what do we see here? When it comes to the top echelon of the socio-economic ladder, the higher managerial, administrative, professional, white men outperform their white women female counterparts by double the percentage. 7% for the women, 15% for the men. Now, even in the second category, they equal the women. So that means in the high echelons of society, they better the women. And that's expected because women, if they're hypergamous, we want productive men, all that kind of other stuff. They're the creme de la creme. They're the elites. That's how it should be. Now, check this out. Let's go right to the never worked or long-term unemployed. What do you see? White men are less in this category in comparison to their white female counterparts. That's exactly how that shit should be. Why? Because men are generally more productive. Men shouldn't really want to be in this category unless, let's be honest, there's some disability there or whatever it may be. But all in all, men should have less in this category than their female counterparts. So that's white people. But let's go to Asian men because, again, I want to make sure I can cover all the three major ethnic groups. Let's go to Asian men. Let's see what they're doing. Now, again, split by Indian and Pakistanis. Now, what do you see again? The top group. Look at the comparison between the men and the women. Look how the men, not only do they outperform, they better them by double the percentage points. You see what I mean, black men? You see what I mean when I say we really need to take a look at ourselves and always kind of struggle and say, what are we doing? Because all the complaints I'm hearing aren't bullshit. Let's just keep it real. All the complaints I'm hearing about men not building, not producing, they aren't doing anything. These aren't all bullshit. There's a reason why this is the case. This is the reason. Indian men, 27%. Indian women, 13%. Again, more than double. Pakistani men, 11%. Pakistani women, 5%. Again, more than double. Again, and look, let's look at the never worked or long-term employed. Look at the difference here between the men and the women. Now, isn't it interesting here because Indian men, 20%, Indian women, 31%, Pakistani men, 27%, Pakistani women, 50%. Now, when I looked at it, I thought, that's very high. But then I looked at something else and I thought, no, I know why. Pakistani men are usually business owners. And when you look at this category in the middle called small employers and own account workers, which is, business owners, look at the Pakistani men, 19% in comparison to the women, 3%. So this is how you see a lot of the Pakistani women, they aren't working because their men are either in high positions or they own their own business, which means, guess what? They can afford to either their women don't have to work or they may come as long-term unemployed, part-time. But this allows a lot of these other groups the ability to be able to, when it comes to the men and women, there's a clear separation between the sexes because the men are more productive and the women are less productive. Just because men should be more productive. Not necessarily because there's anything wrong with women or anything. Men should be more productive. But in our society, as you've seen in our stats, that's not the case. Men and women should never be equally as productive. I don't care what anyone says in this whole feminine. And this is another thing I want to get into now because I know a lot of black men will be saying, feminism, all this kind of bullshit. But I'm like, hold on a second. Does feminism only affect black people? Is society only affecting black people? Is there some sort of rules that I'm not aware of that only affect black people? And you can't use the racism tag because I've got Asians down here on this category and they ain't white. Or are they white enough for you guys to be thinking that's the reason why? I'll let you guys think of that discussion. But let's be honest. Feminism has not caused men to not be productive. Because let me just break this down for you as well. Under feminism. Under second wave, first wave, third wave. I don't give a shit. Here's what white men and Asian men have built. Chinese, East Asian, whatever it may be. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Fiverr, TikTok. These are all creations under this modern feminism. It's not as if it was under some sort of, they were created under the 16th century, the 17th century, where there was this hardcore patriarchy, all this kind of bullshit. So I don't want to hear this crap about feminism and all this kind of other stuff. But again, it goes back to my original point of the conversation at the start of this video. When it comes to accountability and responsibility for each and our own lives, guess what we like to do? We like to blame every other person else. I was raised by a single mother. It's women's fault. Women are selecting these bad guys. Women are doing this. I'm like, listen. At the end of the day, can you blame women for their selection choices when you see the fact, when we put it all together, we're not as educated as our white and Asian counterparts from A-levels to university degrees. We're not in the same type of employment as they are. We're least employed in the higher position when it comes to managerial. We're most employed in the sort of remedial activities. When it comes to net property wealth, financial wealth, when it comes to home ownership, if you put everything together, what pool do black women really have to choose from? So when I hear this kind of stuff, I'm like, hold on a second. You should be kind of, in a way, grateful. But I'm not going to say we're grateful, but let's be honest. Black women clearly, based on these stats, are a lot more forgiving than other counterparts are because I'm pretty sure the white women or the Asian women wouldn't allow their men to be as productive. Let's just use that, as productive as what black men have been productive for flipping out. Let's just say for the last 10, 20 years. And that's just the truth. And this is why when this conversation comes up and I heard about struggle love, and I'm like, let's just look at the stats and break it down and see exactly what it is that's going on. And this is what it is. This is the stats right in front of you. What do you say to this kind of stuff? What do you say, black men, when you look at how other counterparts are bettering at you guys? Because at the end of the day, one thing that black men would always come at black women for, and this is, you don't want to do this because you do not want to compete. And I thought to myself, isn't that interesting? Isn't that a bitch? Because do you know what, black men? No, I'm going to say to you. You don't want to do anything because you do not want to compete your goddamn self. Because I always hear this conversation of competing, and really here's what it is. You want to lower the standard for you to win, as opposed to you bettering the standard for you to succeed. And that's what pisses me off a lot when I hear this average shit. Because even though you are right in saying that most guys are average, because the average is the average, I ain't going to lie to you. But nigga, do you really think Indians, Pakistanis, white people are thinking I'm only going to be average? I did a stream with Vincent in which his mother was saying to him, you are not going to be average. You are going to be better than average. Matter of fact, you are going to be the best. If you don't get A stars, if you don't get 100% in the exam, you are worthless. That's the kind of mentality that we need. Because you know what? That's what we need. Just because you want to be average don't mean that we should be average. We as a people should not be looking at average. That shouldn't be even in our thinking thoughts. We should be thinking we need to be the best. Who are the best? We need to raise that standard and better that standard. Because when it comes to other things like sports, you guys love to say how, oh, we're the best at sports, we're the best at this, we're the best at that. Well, isn't that interesting how at those situations you can be the best? You want to raise the standards. But when it comes to life shit, real life shit, you guys will go, oh, well, you know, most people are average. You guys don't want an average male, all this kind of other horse shit. This is one of the reasons why I have such a problem with a lot of the conversations that a lot of black men have. And these are meant to be logical, analytical human beings. But the arguments are complete bullshit. And this is what I wanted to bring through today because it needs to be brought forth. And you know what? It's not a bashing video to black men or anything, but it's just the goddamn truth about the reality of where we are as a people and why our communities are the way they are. I've not even broached, which I will do at a later stage, about how, let's be honest, in our communities, they are unsafe to raise children, to raise families in itself. And that's why a lot of black men who have any intelligence move away from black people. And that's another huge point we need to get into, but that's another video. But for this video, I just wanted to bring in the stats to show you exactly about this whole struggle of break this shit down and to show everyone exactly, black men, black women, black people, we need to do better. We need to strive for the best. Don't strive for average. Strive for the best. If you want to say that you don't want an average woman, I don't disagree with it. You don't want a woman who's overweight, I don't disagree. You want a woman who's submissive and nice and cooperative, I don't disagree. But let's not shortchange them. Let's not act as if you nigga are doing better than other groups. You aren't. You're not even doing average. You're doing less than average. And that's the problem I have. We are doing less than average. We shouldn't be worried about average. We should be aiming for the best. But we don't, because we are a below average motherfucking people. And that's all I wanted to say today. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Until next time, I'm out.